and they called it Puppy Love.
Welcome to the evening show with Jackie Brambles. This is the home of great conversations with your favourite living legends of the 70s, 80s and 90s. And tonight we definitely have delivered big time. Our opening track, Puppy Love from 1972, was the first of his 3 UK number ones. And it'd be a pretty safe bet to say that this guy's smiling face was posted up on a lot of teenage bedroom walls. And he's been a fan favourite across the past 6 decades as part of his family group, a double act with his sister, and a solo artist starring in musicals, as well as releasing over 60 albums, plus a successful career in TV as a presenter and currently in residence in Vegas nightly. That is until he touches down on our fair shores for a UK tour in November and December. Donny Osmond, how are you?
I'm good, Jackie. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. And we are delighted to have you here for our great conversation. You're celebrating 6 decades in showbiz with this upcoming UK tour, and you're bringing the whole all singing, all dancing Vegas show with you, right?
That is the uniqueness of this tour. Unlike any other tour I've done, I've always wanted to do this kind of a show, and with the repertoire that I have right now of 65 albums, I'm able to do it. As a matter of fact, Jackie, there's a segment in the show, and I'm going to expand it here in the UK, unlike the US in Las Vegas, because you're limited to 90 minutes.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want to do in my concert. But it's called the Request segment. I put all 65 albums, so the first one to the current one, on the screen, huge screen, and anyone in the audience can pick any song from any album I've ever done in my entire life, and we do it. So we get to maybe 6, 7 songs.
Have you ever had to say, oh, sorry, we haven't practiced that one?
No. But there have been times when, you kind of forget the words, and I look down with some of the fans, and they kind of prompt me what the words are. And it's fun for the band, too, because it changes every night. Of course.
And tell us about putting, that kind of show together. I mean, you must have played Vegas many, many times over the years. Is there something different about this run, this residency that you've been doing there? Yeah,
mainly because it's all inclusive, everything I've done. In fact, I had a very difficult time putting 6 decades into a 90-minute show. That's why I'm going to have fun on this show, because we can expand it.
Right.
So, in fact, I came up with an idea that was kind of a crazy idea. The guy that helped me direct this thing, Raj Kapoor is his name, I called him up and I said, and we did this during COVID, so we had a long time to kind of figure out this show. I said, what if I did a rap? And kind of like Hamilton, where everything is put into rhyme.
Yeah.
And he starts laughing over the phone. And I thought, well, that's kind of rude. You can let me down easy. You don't laugh at me. And he said, no, I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at the fact I would spend money. I would pay money to watch Donny Osmond rap. And so we started putting this thing together. It was originally going to be 6. It's called 6 in 6. 6 minutes of 6 decades. And we had to expand it to at least 10 minutes because we couldn't fit everything in 6 minutes. So it's a 10-minute wrap of almost practically everything I've done in show business over the last 6 decades. It's phenomenal. And it took me like 3 months to memorize this whole thing. It's pretty cool.
Can you give us a little 10-second burst?
It starts out, it all began back in Utah. I was 4 years old. Started singing with my brothers, and the sound was like gold. So my folks took a leap and said, what the hey? We got to get these monsters out to California. Me, I miss my sandbox, but I like the beach. And I practiced at home while my brothers cut their teeth as a barbershop quartet at Disneyland, where they were soon discovered in a way that no one could have planned. See, remember Andy Williams? Well, his dad saw the spark when they sang a couple songs on Disneyland after dark. Andy had to agree those boys could carry a tune. And so they went on his show and made the audience swoon. I tell you, people sure loved them. But I felt left out. I mean, come on. At 5 years old, I knew what showbiz was about. So in 1962, I made my big debut, and I showed the whole world what little Donny could do. And then I played my debut performance at 5 years old. And it gets faster and faster and faster. It's pretty cool. It's really cool.
That was very impressive. That was really impressive.
Oh, you should hear the rest of it, man.
Celebrating 6 decades of show business, that's Donny Osmond in the 80s with Soldier of Love, which was a hit in 1988. And it has been such a long and successful career, Donny. And what I love about it, Donny, is your enthusiasm for just the music, and just for the content of the show. And I think sometimes what can happen is when you are cursed with also a great personality, which you have been throughout your life, is that sometimes the core musician in there can get a little bit blurry or pushed into the background because you're adept at doing lots of other things. For example, I met you when you were doing hosting a game show when I lived in LA way back
yes.
when.
Pyramid.
Because you've done so much and done so many different things. You're kind of seen as this consummate all-round entertainer, which obviously you are, but in there's sort of a real muso.
Well, that's really kind of you to say, and it conjures up things in my mind when people say, when are you going to retire? Well, I think I would probably want to retire if I didn't enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
Because I don't really know what that word means, retire, because I just don't see myself retiring. I mean, obviously someday I'm going to slow down, but I've never been working harder in my life and enjoying it. And I'm 60 years on in show business. And when you see the show, I get this comment all the time. I said, where do you get the energy? Well, when you love what you do, and wait till you see my dancers. I handpicked each one of these, and the band is unbelievable. We have the most enjoyable time, exciting time on stage because it's just living my life over and over again every single night. And it's so fun. And like I said during the request segment, it changes every night.
I mean, and Las Vegas is a place where, let's face it, the bar is high. You can't phone it in that town by any, shape or form. Have you sort of give us an idea of, who's in Vegas at the moment, whose show you've seen, what's been impressing you?
Well, that's the problem, I wanted to see Usher's show. I want to see Adele's show. I wanted to see, everybody, my neighbors, obviously, it's the entertainment capital of the world. The problem you got is because you're doing the shows at the same time. And when I'm not doing a show, I'm back up in Utah with my family. So it makes it really difficult. But to be able to have the awards over the last couple of years of best show, best headliner, best entertainer, best production.
Yeah.
With all of the Cirque shows and things. I mean, it is considered the entertainment capital of the world. And to receive those awards, what an accolade. And after being in the business as long as I have, the ups and downs of the business, and I've been everywhere in between, as my life's an open book. But to have those kinds of awards for this show, it is so meaningful. I don't take it lightly, in other words.
Life springs eternal on a garden neon street. Saturday night, I'm leaving Las Vegas.
Sheryl Crow with one of the best ever odes to Sin City, Leaving Las Vegas, which is exactly what Donny Osmond will be doing shortly, to come to the UK for a tour in November and December. Although he's bringing the whole Vegas shebang with him. We will be back to continue our great conversation with Donny next. Welcome back to the evening show with Jackie Brambles, where it's just you, me, and the legendary Donny Osmond cozying on in for a great conversation and a meander through his most meaningful musical memories. Donny, we usually start these conversations out by asking whether or not our guests grew up in a particularly musical household and what the first record was that they ever bought. Trying to get a sense of musical influences. But that feels kind of redundant with you, given your showbiz roots.
Abraham was a great singer. Moses was a great tap dancer. Noah, he was really good.
These are all the influences that you were...
These are the influences of my life. Yeah, I worked with them. I did a tap dance with Noah. He was a great hoofer. Does that give you an idea how long I've been in the business?
Yeah.
No, okay, seriously. The first song I ever bought, the first record, was My Cherie Amour. My Cherie Amour.
Oh,
Stevie
wow.
Wonder. As soon as I started hearing his voice, it was like, okay, I gotta do this. Because up until that time, singing like barbershop harmonies, 5-part harmonies with my brothers, and loved it because Andy Williams was such an influence at the beginning because he introduced me to show business.
Yes, he basically discovered the Osmonds and put you on his TV show, right?
Oh, yes. But as soon as I started hearing Stevie, and very superstitious. And the way he sang, the way he spoke, all that kind of stuff was just such an influence. But My Cherie Amour was the very first 45 I ever bought. In fact, I did a cover of My Cherie Amour on an album called The Soundtrack of My Life.
Ah.
And while I was recording this, I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I could get Stevie to play the harmonica on the intro of this thing and in the instrumental? So I called him up, and he wasn't about to just commit to anything. He said, send me an MP3. So a few minutes later, his assistant calls me, says, Stevie's on the other line, wants to talk to you. Now, this is my musical hero, Jackie, right?
Of course.
And he's calling me back. My heart stops. I'm thinking, oh boy, is this going to be either good news or really bad news? Mm-hmm. And he gets on the phone. He said, Donnie, that's the way he talks to me. He said, Donnie, I love this. Send me the masters. I got to be part of this record.
Oh.
And it was just a dream come true to have my musical hero on my record, yeah.
1969, Donny Osmond would have been 12 years old when he fell in love with that track from Stevie Wonder, My Cherie Amour. What about a first live show then, Donny? Perhaps given your childhood as a performer, that could well have been watching from the wings. But what early memories do you have of having your mind blown when watching an artist perform?
My first live show, let's see. What would have been mine? It was in Chicago.
You can't pick that one.
Yeah, well, I have to because it was the first one. When you hear the story, you'll understand why I selected this. I just turned 6. I had just made my debut at 5 years old on Andy's show.
Right.
He was doing a Christmas tour and wanted me to be a part of it with my brothers. And like I said, it's the McCormick Place in Chicago. And he introduces me. Now, Jackie, I'm 6, right? I have no idea how many people are out in the audience because I remember the television studio was a couple hundred maybe.
Yeah.
And the spotlights hit me and I had no idea how many thousands of people were watching me. And I sing my song, and at the end of it, it was all this thunderous applause and the flash bulbs going off and the hollers and the whistles, and it scared me. And I ran off stage.
Oh.
And the next thing I remember was Andy Williams saying, Donnie, come back out here. All this applause is for you.
Oh.
And it was at that moment, Jackie, and I vividly remember it, I thought, they're clapping for me. I got to do this the rest of my life.
Hooked at a young age.
I'm hooked. It was that moment in Chicago. I'm hooked, baby. I remember a show I did in Ohio. It was one of the very first rock concerts I did.
Right.
It was after One Bad Apple started going up the charts, and we did a test concert.
One bad apple don't spoil the whole bunch, girl. One more try before you give up on love.
I think it was Columbus or Cleveland, I can't recall. And my brothers and I would enter the stage on a blackout. So everything would black out and we'd run on stage. Now, what I'm about to tell you happened in nanoseconds, right? But this was what was going on in my mind. The blackout happens, we run out on stage, and the amount of screaming that was coming from the audience was deafening.
Oh, wow.
And I remember thinking, looking out at the audience, because they couldn't see us, thinking somebody's hurt. There's people screaming out there.
You had a little panic.
They're screaming for us. And another moment where it was just like, you've got to be kidding me. This is unbelievable. Because, wear my shoes for a second now, just prior to that, before One Bad Apple made it, we're on the Andy Williams show as a cute little quintet singing great music, so great harmonies, but it was nothing near a pop concert, rock concert of mania.
It wasn't like rock and roll. Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't rock and roll, man. It was more beautiful harmonies and dancing and the stuff that we did in the Andy Williams time. But then that moment where everything changed was when we ran out on stage, and the screaming and the adulation. It was just like, this is awesome.
Was there? Okay, that was your first. That's good. Let's go to the first one then, where you watched a performer, perhaps as a kid, having a consciousness of, yes, this is what I want to do, and you'd got over that initial fright where you thought, wow, that band, that guy, that woman, that's amazing.
Difficult for me to answer because I'm so young as a professional at this point.
Yeah.
So all these people I'm watching are peers, and I'm very critical because I'm starting to learn to wear a producer's hat. But it wasn't really until I saw Maurice White.
Earth, Wind and Fire.
And I heard it wasn't just the reaction of the audience. It was the feeling inside of me. It was the production. But watching Verdine on the bass just going like crazy, watching Maurice handle the audience, it was the magic of the music. It was the magic of the night. It was unbelievable.
Every man has a place in his heart. There's a space to everlasting liberty.
Fantasy, a hit in 1978 for Earth, Wind and Fire, the first live band to impress a young Donny Osmond watching them perform from the wings. So the Osmonds, of course, became huge in the States in the early 70s, but it went absolutely bonkers when you first came over here, right?
It was exciting there, but when we came over to the UK, it was a whole new level. I mean, it took it to another level when they
it was ridiculous.
They coined it Osmond Mania right after Beatlemania.
Yeah.
And they called us the original boy band, right? Of course, the Beatles, I guess you'd refer to them as a boy band, but the Osmonds, they said, were the original boy band. And I remember doing a show in Shepherd's Bush. It was a TV show. And we exited the building, and I don't know how many thousands of girls saw us and were running down the street. It was like a Hard Day's Night, right?
Oh, wow.
And my brother Alan was in the front, and everybody's worried for us, and Alan's kind of worried. We got to run fast, run. I've got the biggest smile on my face thinking, this is awesome. This is unbelievable. We found this little Chinese restaurant, and we hurried and ducked into this restaurant and ducked underneath the tables. And these thousands of teenage girls were running past, some looking in the window trying to find us. Nobody could find us. And I'm thinking, this is the best time of my life. I'm a little teenager and I've got thousands of screaming girls after me. What boy didn't want to wear my shoes at that time? You know what I'm saying?
But kind of intimidating as well. But you obviously, you were just not at all. You loved it.
It was a blast.
You loved it.
No way. I loved it. There was a time at the Churchill Hotel when these thousands of girls were coming down in the parking lot, and our security guards were trying to separate us from all of these screaming girls, pulling at our clothes and our hair. And I had long hair at the time. Don Murfitt was the guy's name. And because I had long hair, he thought I was one of the teeny boppers. So he grabbed me and threw me down the stairwell.
Oh my goodness.
And then he realized what he did. And then I was trying to crawl through all of these fans' legs, trying to get into the entrance of the hotel. And he threw me again and realized, oh, that was Donnie.
Oh, no.
So I had to grab him again. There's story after story of the Osmond Mania days.
Girl, when you hold me, how you control. Love me for a reason. Let the reason.
Number one for the Osmonds in 1974, Love Me for a Reason. And we will be back with our very special guest, Donny Osmond, to continue our great conversation next. Welcome back to our great conversation with the living legend that is Donny Osmond, celebrating 6 decades of show business with us right here on the evening show with Jackie Brambles. Before the break, we were talking about the madness of those early Osmonds days when you were, running away from hordes of screaming teeny boppers. I mean, it's a screwy kind of experience for a young man who becomes famous to go through, but for a very young boy, away from the reality of most young kids' day-to-day lives, I mean, did you have any peers in that? Was there anybody that you could talk to who had gone through or was going through something similar, and that you could have those sort of equal conversations with? Who would have been around you at that point that you might have had that opportunity to have that kind of relationship with?
Well, I don't mean to bring this into a downer, because I'm having so much fun in this interview, but I've got to look at both sides of the coin here.
No, it's interesting.
The short answer is no. Because I was isolated so much because of the hysteria and who I was, and it was a very lonely life. Other than the fact, thank goodness, I had my siblings. They're also my business partners, and I couldn't really disclose my innermost feelings because we're professional professional partners. Yes, we're siblings, but we're partners. It was like, get your job done. Don't complain. And so it wasn't completely rosy all the time because emotionally I was suffering. It was very lonely. I mean, this sounds very strange for me to say that. I'm on stage with literally tens of thousands of screaming fans calling my name, and then I go back to the hotel in deafening silence, and really didn't have anybody to call or talk to.
Well, that right there, that is the vulnerable spot, isn't it? For many musicians, famous, artists, musicians, is when it all goes very quiet and you are on your own. That's when it can all take a turn for the worse.
Well, yes. When you live a life of extremes like I did, and show business to a certain extent is a life of extreme. When you're on stage, and you're doing your job right and you're enjoying yourself, you can do no wrong. But when you get off stage, that curtain closes and you're just a normal person. And you have to remind yourself of that because you've got all these yes people around you saying, oh, you're great, you're great, you're great, you can do no wrong. Mm-hmm. I learned that lesson when I was about 14 years old. Learned a very, very cool lesson when the first time I met Elvis Presley. I was opening up the night after he closed. I remember watching the King of Rock and Roll on stage in Las Vegas. And I thought, no wonder he's got the title of King, because it was an unbelievable show. So the following night, I'm in his dressing room with my brothers about 10 minutes before the show starts. We're all ready to go. And the door opens up, and it's Elvis Presley walking in. And he said, "Hi, everybody, I'm Elvis Presley." And I remember thinking to myself, I remember at 14 years old, thinking to myself, yeah, we all know that. He introduced himself as a humble man. 24 hours ago, I watched him as the king on stage.
When no one else can understand me.
The Wonder of You got to number one in 1970 when our special guest Donny Osmond would have been in his early teens, getting to stand and chat to the King of Rock and Roll in his dressing room. But it didn't actually end there, did it?
He was just the nicest guy and would... in fact, he would call our house a lot. He loved to call my mom on the phone and talk to her.
Really?
When he lost his mom, yeah. My mom was almost like his surrogate mom. And funny story, the phone rings one day, and my brother Jay, just the next one older than me, he picks up the phone, and he said, hello, and he hears this voice, is your mother there? And he said, yeah, who's calling? He says, this is Elvis. And Jay said, hey, Mom, some guy named Elvis is on the phone for you. He didn't put two and two together to realize it was Elvis Presley. I digress a little bit, but my story is that I remember how humble he was and realized when the curtain comes down, Jackie, you leave it on stage and you come back. And I think that's what's really helped me over the years. I go home, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a grandpa, and those are the things that keep my feet on the ground. I take my rubbish out to the street, I mow my own grass, all that kind of stuff. I know that may sound really trivial and it's kind of stupid in many people's
No, but it keeps
minds.
you grounded, keeps you in reality.
It does. And it's so important to me to do things like that, just to maintain normalcy in my life. I remember I was on tour, and my phone rang, and I said, hello, and I hear this, Donnie, hi. I said, Michael. Hi, Donnie. I said, Michael, where are you? He says, I can't tell you. I said, Mike, come on. Where are you? You're talking to me. He said, I'm in Phoenix. Please don't tell anybody I'm here. I had to rent one of these tour buses. I got my kids with me. I had to get out of Los Angeles. The press are hounding me. I just had to get away. I said, Mike, that's about a 9-hour drive to my house in Utah. I'm almost done. I'll be done with this tour this weekend. I want you to get in that bus with your kids, come up to my home. Nobody will know you're there. The kids can swim with my kids. We'll have a nice conversation. I'll give you some normalcy for a couple of days, and then you go back home.
Right.
And he said, I really need that right now. And he never took me up on it. And it's the last time I talked to him.
Oh, how sad.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of who I was thinking of. You did have a lot in common in that, you were both in these massively successful family bands.
Yeah.
If you did sort of, before you became grown-ups and things went a little bit haywire for him, to say the least. Whether you had any conversations with him as a young man growing up to sort of compare notes.
Well, I did have a good relationship. Going back to your question a few minutes ago, I could call him every once in a while. Of course, he was very busy. I was busy as well. The mic that I hold on to is at the end of that American Music Awards show that we presented on.
Ladies and gentlemen, you'll never guess who. Michael Jackson and Donny Osmond.
Because we both sing with the group.
Well, you're on the right track.
As the show was coming down, both Mike and I are on backstage right. And I turned to him and said, "Hey, Mike, are you hungry?" He says, "I'm starving." I said, "Follow me." So we go into my limo and we drive over to this fast food restaurant called Jack in the Box.
Oh, yeah.
And just the two of us in the limo. And we order all these tacos. And I told the driver, drive down Sunset Boulevard. So we open up the moonroof and we're both sticking our heads out, laughing our heads off, eating tacos. That's the mic I hold on to.
In the two of us need look no more. Now it's we.
Ben, a hit in 1972 for Michael Jackson, a childhood pal of our special guest Donny Osmond. Was there never any, inkling or momentum to the idea of a collaboration between you and Michael Jackson? And I wonder what that song, might have sounded like, what it would have been.
I immediately go to, I wish those days could come back once more. I cut a track of that song and I took it over to Stevie's studio and I played it for him. I said, "Stevie, I want to do a duet with Michael. And because looking back on when I was a little nappy-headed boy, Mike was going to sing that part. And the Christmas, what would be my toy, was going to be my line. Mike and I were going to do this duet together.
Oh, wow.
And I went over to Neverland the next day because Stevie said, "Oh, this is going to be huge." And I went and played it for Michael. And he said, "Oh, this is going to be so cool. I love the track." We set a vocal session about 3 weeks from that day. And about a week after, he said, "Donny, can I postpone it a little bit because all these allegations are hitting me? I got to get rid of this stuff, and then we'll focus on the record." I said, "Mike, postpone it as long as you want. We'll do it when it's right." And it never happened. But can you imagine what that would have been? Looking back on when I was a little nappy-headed boy.
Your voice is astonishing, may I say. What a treat we've had tonight. All these little bursts of Donny Osmond at full tilt. It's incredible. Okay, final question, and that is, Donny, we need you to pick the final track of this great conversation hour for us this evening, whether it's because it elevates you or comforts you or you just love the artist.
Aretha Franklin. Give me any Aretha Franklin song because she's the queen of soul. And if anybody influenced me from a female point of view, it would have been Aretha.
What you want, baby, I got R-E-S-P-E-C-T, T-F-T-C-T.
Aretha Franklin, respect singing it and getting barrel loads of it from tonight's very special guest on our great conversation, Donny Osmond. Donny, what a pleasure to speak to you today. It's just been absolute. I feel like I've been on a musical and emotional roller coaster.
Oh, thank you so much. It's good to talk to you. I can hardly wait to bring this show to the UK because it's all inclusive. Everything I've done in one show.
Amazing. All right, my love. Well, listen, see you in November, December.
Thanks, Jackie.
Take care. Cheers, Donny.
See ya. Bye-bye.
The living legend that is Donny Osmond.